Welcome to Boost Talk. Louise here from Boost Your Career. And today we're in conversation about women finding and using their credible voice in the workplace. And I'm in conversation with Bev Ryan, who is a non-fiction book coach, book production manager, and author at Smart Women Publish. Our topic is Boost Your Voice to Release Your Remarkable. And it's based on Bev's passion for helping women release their remarkable through the written word. It's an uplifting and an encouraging conversation which taps into Bev's favourite inspirational quote. Trusting her instinct was the hardest thing she ever did, but she listened to the whisperings of her heart, and in the end, trusting her heart was the smartest thing she ever did. So trust your heart and enjoy this Boost Talk with Bev Ryan. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Boost Talk. Today, I am in conversation with Bev Ryan, who's a non-fiction book coach and book production manager and author at Smart Women Publish. Welcome, Bev. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Louise. I'm happy to be here.
I know. It's today's topic, Bev, I have to absolutely disclosure. I stole the title from reading your bio when you talked about your passion, and you said that it's helping professional women release their remarkable by publishing their own career-changing books. And that whole concept of releasing your remarkable absolutely sung with me. I just love it. So today's topic is Boost Your Voice to Release Your Remarkable. And that's huge when you give it a second of thought. That's huge. But let's go back to you and your journey and how your career journey has supported that passion and helped women to release their remarkable.
Well, thank you. I was really tickled when you picked out that to make this the topic, because that came from an author that I know you and I both love. It's a Barbara Sher quote.
Oh, okay, there you go.
There's a slight twist on her quote. It's something I read in one of her books many years ago, which really just helped me do the same. And I haven't got it verbatim, but she just talked about, she was writing for women sort of mid-age, encouraging them to step out and do their next big thing. And she used this phrase, you have someone inside you waiting to be released to do their remarkable thing. And that was me back when I first read her stuff when I was in my mid-40s, and that phrase just grabbed me. So I'm so tickled that it grabbed you too. Yeah.
Oh, it did. I see it all the time. And in the end, that's what Boost Your Career is all about. It's about discussions with women to release their remarkable. So how's your career journey supported that passion? What have you experienced?
Well, before I came across that author and those sort of concepts, I started out as an English teacher, which is kind of handy that I ended up working with words. So there's some correlation. So I do have a degree in English, and then I've had various careers. Basically, I suppose, teaching, working for the government in various roles around employment services usually, and then out of that, I discovered publishing in my late 40s, and that's been my path since then, but kind of on a part-time basis. The other part-time was career coaching. So I guess because of Barbara Sher's work, I discovered two passions: was publishing as a way to express your thoughts, and it's so creative as well. And career coaching, I discovered that because I just realized how important it was that women had access to career coaching, which is what you do. So that evolved into, I guess, a portfolio career for many years of doing both at the same time, and being able to go in and out of one. If one was busy, then one quiet down. So it's only in the last couple of years that I've stopped the career coaching, probably around COVID, when everything changed. And I was doing that at that stage. I was doing it as a consultant with larger companies who were looking after people going through redundancy. So I did that for 10 years or so. And then once I stopped doing that, I just continued with the publishing and book. And then I've added the book coaching accreditation to that mix. So really now it's book coaching, which is helping people start books, and book production, which is making them happen.
All of that is about unleashing the remarkable, isn't it? And it's helping women
Yeah,
find
yeah,
their voice. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And
yeah,
if when you're working with people who are going through redundancy, one of the things they really wrestle with is expressing their own remarkableness in a CV or in a job
yes,
application because they haven't had to do it for so long. And
yeah.
that I love that time of reflection, helping people just reflect on what they actually have achieved and find the
Mm.
words to put it in. And somebody, when you hand somebody a resume that you've helped them write and you've kind of taken over and you've finished the resume on their behalf and they read about themselves, it's like, oh my God, is that me? Of course it's you. It's you. You're remarkable.
We're not good at it. We're not good at tapping into self and not just acknowledging, but as you say, finding the language that goes
Mm,
around that to
mm.
describe who we are.
Yes.
And when we talk about boost your voice, I talk about consistency, passion, energy, and finding your credible voice, because all of that's about women exploring how to enhance their communication skills in the workplace, given all the history we know of professional workplaces and gender and all of those things. So, what's your experience around the difficulties, the challenges that women face finding and then using their credible voice in the workplace?
I think it's earlier on when we spoke just before we came on of we're just so used to focusing on outside of ourselves in our careers
Yep.
and also at home, pretty much everywhere. So to
Yep.
find your own voice at some stage in your career, it's really requires some reflection about the person that you are. And I think it's really well. I could only really speak on my own behalf, but and I think this is true of everybody. Is knowing that you've got to know what's going on around the world, in the world around you. You don't have to know everything about everything, but you need to be aware of the world you're in, and
Yep.
you can make that choice as to how broad that world is. So, um, some people choose to know a lot about a small topic and go deep with that. Other people want to know a little bit about a lot of things, but you've got to be really aware of what you know and be comfortable in the fact that I don't know everything, but I do know this. And then that will give you the confidence uh, when you are actually in a position where you do need to speak up. I think the thing that some women might struggle with, and again, I'm speaking from my own experience, I'm naturally a fairly quiet person. And, I would be working government offices, that sort of thing, in the big meetings, and people would be quite articulate and verbose and whatever. And there was a point where I thought that's what I should be, but then as I've gotten older, I realized no, that's I just can only be me. And if I'm a quiet person, that means when I do speak up, I do need to know what I'm talking about, and it does need to be valid, and people will listen to it because they know that that's she whatever she says is going to be it's going to have a point because otherwise she wouldn't be speaking. So I think it's just
Yeah.
finding you're really understanding who we are and how we work best, um, and that really transfers across into what I do as a book coach and helping people find their written voice, uh, the way that they're comfortable with expressing the words that they want to use. Um, yeah, and just having the language, and I guess that's we're only as articulate as the words that we know. So it really is
That's nice.
it is our responsibility to build up on that, on their access to words and meanings. And some people are way ahead in that game because they were raised in a home where they've been around words since they've been a baby. Other people haven't not necessarily had that exposure. So,
Oh, I've never thought about that dimension.
hmm,
I suppose that I do when I'm having conversations with people, um, because I tend to jump in, and I come from a home where reading was a given, and conversations were always encouraged. But you're
yeah,
right, not everyone has that opportunity. And if I'm in a workplace with English as a second language,
Mm.
that will compound that process and that will undermine my confidence because I'm grasping for that word.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well,
So
okay, that's interesting. I hadn't even thought about that. I
and
think about women. Women are always evaluating. I always think that they're evaluating everything that's happening around them. And if I use that word or say that sentence, how am I going to be judged? How will people perceive me? So there's always this external notion of, oh, I better not say anything then. I better just sit here and close my mouth. And I find
yeah.
women do that a lot more than men. Your experience
Yeah.
has been in
Mm.
publishing. So how have you seen all this playing out for women in that professional environment?
Yeah. So in the publishing world, I specialize in working with women, so hence my business name, Smart Women Publish. Um, and I'm one of the small players in a very big industry, and I didn't come into this industry with experience in the corporate side of publishing. Uh, and I think that's really important for people to know that you can start something new and you can get your foot in the door in an industry. You don't have to have had a degree and 20 years experience. There are other ways of doing it. And I came into it very slowly and subtly, and over time I've built up a business that it's just the perfect size for where I'm at in my life. And I work with ideal clients. So it's just a lovely thing. So I'm also part of a more of an international community of women in publishing because of my career coaching certification. Most of the women who've done that, not career coaching, sorry, book coaching certification.
Coaching, yeah,
Most
yeah,
of
yeah.
the most of the people who've done that are women, so that's quite interesting. Often they're
Yeah.
coming in late in life, new careers, part-time career. There's an American woman in publishing. Her business is called She Writes Press. Now, where have I got it? Yeah, She Writes Press. That's her business name. Her name is Brooke Warner. And a couple of years ago, she wrote, I could hold on, it's probably the wrong way around, but she wrote this really interesting book called Write On Sisters, as in WRIT, Write On Sisters, Voice, Courage, and Claiming Your Place at the Table, which I thought when I was looking at this morning, it'd be just something you'd probably really enjoy reading, actually.
Yeah, I've just
Read.
taken note of that.
Yeah, so it's Right On Sisters, and her name Brooke with an E, Brooke Warner. So I just went through and found a couple of interesting pieces of information about the publishing world, which from her experience. So I'm just kind of citing these things here. But she is writing about double standards in publishing to do with gender, obviously, because that's her focus. And so I'll just read some of those out because I think you'll find them really interesting. Women writers have their lives reviewed while men have their books reviewed. I thought that's really interesting,
Oh
isn't it?
gosh.
And that would apply to
That's what I
anything,
was
women,
saying, wasn't
anything,
it? Yeah,
women,
because we
anything.
feel that. That's that
Yeah,
evaluation piece. We feel,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
right,
So
okay.
that's women writers, and it's so true. I was watching something recently about art, and women back centuries ago, women weren't allowed to be artists. Their
No,
work wasn't even worthy of looking at, according to the
yeah.
men. So interesting. Um, Women write nuanced, believable male characters, while men don't do the same for female characters. That's fiction world. I'm not really part of the fiction world, but I thought that was interesting, and I think we're all, as readers, we've probably noticed that.
Oh gosh, yeah.
um, Women writing about an issue are seen as writing for women. Men writing about an issue are seen as writing for everyone.
Still,
Yeah,
it's 2024 and
yeah,
we still, and because I'm dealing a lot with younger women, I say to them, you come into a workplace behind, because historically, traditionally, workplaces were established and the systems and processes surrounding those workplaces were created by men, and they're
mm,
designed to support innate male strengths, not innate female strengths. So how do you find your center, yourself in that? And finding a voice is part of that.
yeah,
Oh yeah, wow.
definitely.
Okay, Brooke Warner, I must be happy.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Follow
you'd
up.
love it. And I mean, that's what I love about the independent publishing that we have available to us now. Because in the traditional publishing world, it was a lot of the screening was done by males to female writers.
Yeah.
Um, another finding that she's shared in her book is that women who submit manuscripts for, they're pitching their manuscripts to traditional publishers, women are penalised for their gender while men get the green light. So she's given an example of that. In 2015, there was an article in the magazine called Jezebel. This lady, Catherine Nichols, wrote that she pitched her manuscript to 50 agents. So she pitched it to 50 agents using a female writer's name, her name, and she pitched it to 50 agents using a male writer's name. And the response was that she got 2 responses out of 50 as the woman. She got a third of the responses as a man. So boiling that all down, the male got 8.5 times better response than the female for the same manuscript. Yeah. So
it's really fascinating. We talk about gender equity and certainly a lot's changed over the last 20 years. There's no doubt about it. What I see remaining constant throughout all of this is women wanting Boost Talk, women wanting to have the conversation around where are the blockers, where are the enablers, and when it comes to my voice in particular, how do I circumvent all of that? Because the fact is, even in 2024, women are still not given the same innate credibility that men are given, which fascinates me. I suppose that's why we continue to do what we do, because even though we've seen change, we can say that a lot is still the same, and that's because you're fighting against centuries of structure, of process, that was created by a particular gender. That's really interesting, isn't it?
It is really interesting.
Yeah.
I'll just say one last thing that I thought was worthy of note. So I'll just sort of share that one before we move on. And this is Australian, so this was interesting. I think it's a survey. It's called the Stellar Count. So it was a survey. I'm not sure how many years ago, but not that many years ago. 2/3 of published books are by women, but 2/3 of books that are actually being reviewed as they were being made public, talked about, are by men. So
fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's there's a majority of books are by women, but the majority of books we see as being reviewed are by men. So someone else is making that decision behind the closed doors.
Wow.
Interesting. Yeah.
I was having a big conversation with one of my best friends who lives in Melbourne, and we are avid book readers, and we're always swapping books. And down in Melbourne, there are shops where you can buy by the kilo, which I just love that concept. I think that's great. Go in with a big bag. I'll have 2 kilos of books, please. Doesn't matter if some of them don't work out. It's a fabulous idea.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But anyway, we were both saying how we've noticed that probably the last 10, 15 years, we've been solely reading female authors. And we started having a conversation around the why behind that. And it's everything that we've just talked about, that we've noticed such a difference in the drawing of characters between male and female authors. And because we're both concerned, interested, passionate about women and women creating their remarkableness, that's probably why we've both gone, pardon me, why we've both gone down that road, because women have an amazing slant on the world. It's very different from men. And I caught myself saying to a group of young women only recently that what you're not understanding is that a female voice pitched the right way, using the right language with the right amount of passion behind it and credibility, obviously professional credibility, having the technical skills is a given, can cut through a male boardroom incredibly well.
Yes.
Can slice through. And it takes what you were talking about before. It takes that understanding of self and the ability to choose language to suit the occasion and the people who are in the room. There's pitch, though. I mean, pitch is just crucial in putting a message across.
Yeah, and the pitch is already is, I imagine, directly related to the emotion behind your
Yes,
motivation to speak.
absolutely.
So if
Yeah.
you if you're kind of buying into some heavy emotion, it's not going to have the same impact as just that calmness. Yeah.
Yeah. The thought out piece.
Mm.
And that's a really strong message to pass on to women, that obviously you need to hone your technical skills. You need to be the expert in whatever it is that you're passionate about. And then there's that extra intangible, and we're making that tangible. We're saying that women need to focus in on understanding self, on developing a language set that can describe an enhanced image of self, and then have the who actually voice it, be
Mm.
that written or spoken.
Yeah,
That's really powerful.
it's very powerful, and I mean that's what I love about uh, women helping women write books, is because they have to go through all of that in order to write a book. They've got
Yeah,
to get really clear on who they are now, who they want to be, because I see, the books that I help women write are books that will help take them somewhere that they want to go. Um,
yeah.
so
Mm.
they need to make some pretty strategic decisions about what the book's about, what the point of the book is, who it's for, what they want, what doors they want this book to open for them so they can walk through those doors and do what they do best. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be high level academic. It just has to be really true to who they are, so that when they are asked to go on a podcast or talk about their book or the idea, the point of the book, they're just going to be really confident in that, because it's just who they are. It's just so, it's got to be true to who they are. Uh,
Authenticity is core,
mm.
and one isn't authentic without understanding oneself.
Oh,
I,
yes. We can that's what I don't like about the word authentic, because so many people just use it and it's just so
yeah,
inauthentic when they use it.
yeah, exactly. And you
Yeah.
can feel that. Like when someone's faking it. You know that whole, in the 70s, fake it till you make it. And I think people took that in a very wrong trajectory.
Mm.
I mean, I believe that that's about presenting the confidence, presenting the understanding until you buy it yourself. So that's about shifting the self-talk and shifting the impression of self. That's how I took it. But I take your point. I think people have have absolutely taken that in a very odd direction.
Yes, it's one of the little buzzwords of the last few years. Resilience,
Yeah.
authenticity. I mean,
Yes.
they are very valid and important things, but when
Yeah.
they're just used like in the word cloud,
Your your whole career has absolutely centered around supporting people, women, to find their remarkableness, which is fantastic. Like, how wonderful is that as a legacy?
yeah.
So, I'm going to put you right on the spot and ask you for your personal and private, even tips and strategies for women who are looking to release their remarkable. What advice, what tips do you have for women?
Uh, yeah, that's a great question. Probably two things, and I'll say them for both of them. Then you'll remind me to come back. I love the word midden, which I really want to talk more about, and
The
the other
word,
word,
sorry.
midden, midden.
Okay, yeah.
And the other one that I think would help answer that question is, when we're going to use a phrase, you've got to find your voice. Even that it's really kind of ambiguous for people. But when I'm working with authors, I try to explain it this way. I mean, if you want to communicate in a style that's natural to you, you need to find that style. Some of us know our style, but I've got a few options here. So let's talk about the style first. Um,
Okay.
and this is all to do with our own knowing our own personality. I think there's great value into doing all of those personality profiling tools that are out there. Not all of them, but just some of them enough for long enough so you understand yourself and how you operate best. Now,
Yes.
I refer to the one that I know the best is what's it called, talent dynamics, which is based on Western dynamics. wealth dynamics. It's a really simple tool, but in the spectrum of talent, I sit under the supporter side, which is I feel I'm really happy helping others, supporting other people to do
Yes.
their thing. There's another profile, the star. So the star is the person who's very happy in front of the camera. They'll represent the company. They'll go and do the speaking, whatever. They shine. There's the creator, who's the one that comes up with great ideas all the time, and sometimes so fast that you just exhaust everyone around you because they can't keep up. So just knowing which of those. So then when people come to write a book, understanding which of those that they might fit under. There's various ways you could do a book. I mean, the one I love is curator. As a curator, the spotlight's what you're doing is gathering other people's stories and bringing them together and using other people's stories to prove your point. So it's still your book. You've got a point, you're making a point, but you're kind of gathering people's experiences. So you're not really the center of the story yourself. So other people might find the teacher role, like I just want to tell people how to do it, and they'll write a how-to book because that's natural to them. An advocate is somebody who's going to really just talk on behalf of, try and change opinions
Others.
about a cause. So
Yep.
I think that knowing what style of communication really suits who you are is so critical. So I think that's number one response to your question,
Lovely.
which I've
Yeah.
lost track of your question now, but
No,
I
no,
think
no.
that's
This is
it.
just tips and strategies to
Yeah,
release your remarkable. And
yeah,
you're saying that we need to find our own individual style because
yeah.
once we've articulated and named that,
Mm,
we will develop the language set and the
yeah,
persona, the confidence that goes
yeah,
with that. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that's
And
perfect. What's the second one?
I know some people are daunted about writing because they think they have to kind of step into kind of an academic mode or storyteller mode. And it's great if you can do that, but if it's not
Not
useful to
you.
your purpose, well, you don't have
Yeah.
to do it. Be the sage, be the fellow traveler. Look, I'm on this journey, come along with me, let's do it together.
Yeah.
So I think that just knowing there's ways of expressing yourself, whether it's giving a speech or whether it's writing,
Yeah.
is really important. And the
Yeah.
midden, going back to a midden, and you would know what
Okay.
a midden is, I'm sure. uh,
I do.
we talk about uh, cultural spots where there's, how do we describe it best? A lot of, what's the word? It's not rubbish. It's just remnants of
Noise.
civilizations.
A lot of noise.
Uh, Noise. Did you say noise?
Noise. Yeah. Yeah. Rubbish noise. Just stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. So an archaeologist may find a midden and they might dig through the midden
Yes.
and they'll find all of these um, little treasures that tell them all about the civilization that's lived in that point. Um, Now, I cannot take full credit for this concept because I read it in an article somewhere. Madonna King, who used to write articles in Courier Mail, she wrote about this years and years ago, and it just really struck me that we all have middens. So as we get, as we live our lives, we've got all of this stuff that we shared, all
Yeah.
the experiences that we've had, and we've had the good and the bad. And I think as women, sometimes there's a bit of shame about the bad. I got my share of shit in my mid, I can tell you, but I don't focus on it. But it's there, and the way that Madonna explained it is like it's a treasure, and we stand on top of it. And the higher it gets, the more view we have of the world. And um, all of our treasures are of value. They're not shameful. So,
Yeah.
if you're writing a book or you're speaking or something, it's okay to share stuff out of your mid and stuff out of your past if it serves a purpose, because that's made you who you are. Your value
Yeah.
comes from that. And
Oh,
so,
they're beautiful. That's your
mm,
history. That's
yeah,
created you right now. And I
yes.
think that speaks to women believing falsely that any emotion in the workplace is not on,
Mm,
because emotion is part of that. It is a
yeah.
part of understanding who we are. I love both those concepts.
Yeah, but I sort of
Find your style and accept your midden for all
accept
its
it.
murkiness.
Yes, and I don't mean brandish it around. I think in
No,
the publishing world, and there's there are a lot of books being written or self-published, sharing all the murkiness because there's kind of a bit of a revenge motivation there. I just want to tell how
yeah,
bad that person really treated me, so I'm going to publish my story. I don't go near stories like that because that's a therapy process. They should be getting therapy. So I'm not saying use all of that stuff in our midden, and just throw it around,
No.
but it's there. Just value it and use it to guide choices.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I have so much to think about now. I love how you've distilled all of that down into your style will allow you to discover your voice
Yes.
and whatever that true
Mm.
voice is.
Yeah.
And it's part of the understanding that our history needs to be acknowledged. You don't need to glory in it, and it needs to be acknowledged and celebrated because the midden is what's created the height. Oh, I love it. They're just
Yeah.
beautiful concepts, Bev
Yeah.
Ryan. Thank you.
Well, my pleasure.
They're fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing some of your thoughts. And I look forward to our next conversation. I wonder what that will be.
Who knows? Thank you so much
Thank
for
you for
inviting
joining
me.
me.
Hello, Louise Phelan here, and you've been listening to yet another Boost Talk, and I know you loved it. These women are being so generous with their time and their experience and their expertise, and it's great to have their perspective on their career enhancement strategies for women in this post-pandemic hybrid workplace that we find ourselves in. So for more information, head on over to our website, boostyourcareer.com.au, and I'll see you there.